Hey guys, today we are making just some simple steamed kale. This is how I make it. Everybody makes it different. I'm going to start with just 2 cups of water. You don't need a ton of water to make steamed kale. Let's see. 2 cups. I'll do 3 cups because I'm using 2 bags of kale. And this is good for any kale, but Trader Joe's, if you're lucky enough to have one in your town, sells kale just like this in a bag, cut up, clean, ready to go. So I'm going to use 2 bags of this. So for now, we're just going to let those 3 cups of water boil on a high heat, and then we'll come back. Okay, so the water is boiled. Bring it a little closer so you can see. I like to add bouillon to mine. Whole Foods has a vegan vegetable bouillon with sea salt and herbs that I like to use. With that same brand, they also have one with no salt added if you need to watch your salt intake. So for 2 bags of kale, I personally will use 1 of the cubes with sea salt, and I'll use 1 without salt, just for extra flavor. I mean, you really don't need anything else besides this, unless you want to maybe add some black pepper after it's done. But I don't like to add too much pepper. You kind of let those cubes just kind of break up a little bit before you add the kale. You kind of stir it around. And you might be wondering, like, that's not enough water, but it is, because you don't want super mushy kale. You just want enough for both of your bags of kale to get wet and to get some of the flavor from the bouillon. Because you're not making soup. We can low this heat now too. I would turn it down to a medium heat. Medium to medium low. Okay. So these cubes are broken down enough. And you can just add your kale. Like I said, this could be any kind of kale. And you can also use this method for any green. Beet greens, collard greens, Swiss chard. This works for all of them. This one. And it's going to look like so much going into the pot. So just squish it down in there without burning yourself. It's good to use a deep pot like I'm using. Because just like most greens, by the time it cooks down, it looks like it's nothing. Alright. So let's cover that back up for a few minutes, and then we'll check on it and start stirring it around. Okay, it's been about 4 or 5 minutes. I'm going to take the top off and just get a big spoon, and from the bottom, start slowly turning it around. You want to make sure all the kale gets an even amount of time with the water that's at the bottom. So you notice the kale on the bottom is looking nice and green. So we want every bit of kale to get the same thing. And this way it all gets some of the flavor from the bouillon cubes. Look at it, shrinking down already. I eat so much kale, it's ridiculous, especially when it's steamed. I juice kale. I usually don't juice this curly kale though, not for any particular reason, but I like to juice the dinosaur kale. And if I eat kale raw, I love the dinosaur kale raw because it, or some people call it black kale. It's just so easy to work with. Look at that. Looks like there's barely anything in there. So now that we've got that stirred around, we're going to cover it back up and let it cook for maybe another 5 to 8 minutes, depending on how well done you like your kale. Okay, it's been about 6 more minutes for me, and I've turned my flame off, and my kale is a lovely, bright, well, kind of dark green. I don't like mine overcooked because you have to think, even when you reheat it, it's going to cook even more and take more of the nutrients away. So there you go, steamed kale, super easy, couple of minutes. Yum. Enjoy.